is the last SEAC meeting before summer vacation, so welcome everyone. We are calling the meeting to order at 7:05. And the one person that is missing is sent in the regrets. Or lost it.
Nicole Bucket.
Nicole Bucket is sent to the regrets, but other than that, we are moving forward and we will now do the acknowledgement of traditional territory.
The land upon which we work, live, and sustain ourselves is the ancestral and treaty lands of the Michizagig Anishinaabe, also known today as the Mississaugas of the Credit, the rightful caretakers and title holders of this land. We also recognize the rich pre-contact history and relationships which include the Anishinaabe and the Ongwe Hongwe.
Since European contact, this land continues to be home to Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. As responsible community members, we value the diversity, dignity, and worth of all people.
Colonialism displaced and dispossessed Indigenous peoples of their ancestral land
And continues to deny their basic human rights, dignities, and freedoms.
We are committed to learning true history to reconcile, make reparations, and fulfill our treaty obligations to the original peoples and our collective responsibilities to the lands, water, animals, and each other for future generations.
Thank you very much. Now we're going on to approval of the agenda. May I have a motion that the Special Education Advisory Committee approves the agenda of June 17th? Okay, we have the two trustees, so we could note that. All in favor? Go. And now we're moving to declaration of conflict of interest. Are there any declarations for tonight? None seen, so we can move on to approval of minutes. So we are reviewing the minutes from the last meeting. We have May 20th, 2025. And may I have a motion that the Special Education Advisory Committee approves the minutes of May 20th, 2025? A mover and a seconder, trustee Benjamin. And are there any discussion, any questions or comments on the minutes? Wow, okay. All in favor? That motion is passed. And now we have moved on to delegations and public questions, of which there are none. Wow, we're flying through the agenda here, folks. We're on 7.1. I don't even know how that happened. So we've moved on to the superintendent's oral report, which also we have a written version of, even though it's far.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. As we come to the end of another school year, I want to begin by acknowledging that it's been a year filled with both challenging and meaningful growth. Through it all, what has remained constant is the dedication, passion, and partnership that each of you bring to the SEAC table and to the broader mission of supporting every student in our system. We've witnessed remarkable moments of student brilliance across the PDSB, students who have excelled not just academically, but also as leaders, artists, athletes, and change makers. These moments remind us of the importance of the work we do together to ensure that every student is given the opportunity to reach their full potential. Our teachers, educational assistants, school administrators, and support staff have been instrumental in this work. Their commitment to excellence, particularly in adapting to changing circumstances and meeting diverse needs of learners, has been nothing short of inspiring. Equally, the support of families and our community partners help us create environments where collaboration is truly at the heart of student success. I want to also take the time to recognize the work of the Special Education Department. This year, they have continued to advocate for and implement changes that promote inclusion and enhance the experience of students with disabilities. Their leadership has changed and strengthened our programs and operating procedures in ways that move us closer to our shared vision of an inclusive, supportive, and equitable education system. I am lucky to work alongside them each and every day. As we reflect back on this year, I want to acknowledge how much we've learned through our collective partnership with SEAC. Your feedback, insights, and candor has shaped how we approach our meetings and informed the decisions we make. We made intentional changes to the structure and contents of our meetings to better meet the needs of this committee, the broader community, and most importantly, the students we serve. That said, our work is not done. Continued growth is essential. As we move forward, we will maintain a strong focus on implementation, ensuring that the strategies and policies we commit to translate into real changes at the school level. We will strengthen school-based support so that it lands directly in classrooms where it matters most. And we will continue to monitor outcomes, not just for accountability, but to ensure that we're doing what we're doing is truly making a difference in the lives of students. I'm excited to share one example of meaningful work that happened at Glen Forest Fusion Robotics Club. It's an exciting and inclusive opportunity that brought students together to explore the world of robotics. Drazen Bertovic was a lead teacher for this project at Glen Forest Secondary School, and it was his vision to create a platform that merged the skills and talents of students from the Vocational One program with the mentorships and peers from the school's robotics team. At the start of the season, students were divided into 4 teams and gathered on a Saturday to collaboratively design, build, and program their own robots. From there, they continued practicing weekly, honing their skills in preparation for the final competition, where the 4 teams faced off against each other in an exciting competition. But it was more than just about technology. It was about teamwork, innovation, inclusion, and learning from one another. The opportunity fostered collaboration and confidence, helping students develop not only technical skills, but also problem-solving abilities that will benefit them far beyond the competition. It wasn't about robotics. It was about bringing people together in an inclusive environment and creating opportunities for all participants to thrive. It's Drazen's hope to get Vocational One programs from other schools to participate so students can compete between schools. Our department will support this. I'd like to share a video that captures how powerful this experience was.
We'll be beginning in 3, 2, 1, bananas!
I'll smile, I know what it takes to fool this town.
That will be an additional 2 points from the landing pad.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you my
And now scoring up 1 more point. That fuel cell comes right off its ring. And there we go. It's an additional point off the power cell for Team Steven Universe. They'll go for it again. And it goes straight up. 3 points. On their way to the warehouse. Will they score 3 or will they just get to 2? Let's see how many points here. And they place it right down onto the blue pad. That'll be 3 points for Team Ava Moonshine. Going for the power cell next. Gets it on the first attempt. Fantastic run here from Team Ava Moonshine.
Hiding now.
3, 2, 1. That will be top.
I know I've heard that they let you feel.
Looking forward to seeing everybody next year. Thank you very much, everybody.
I put my arm around so you how strong I am. I put my arm around, I saw you that I
Literally, I'm Spanish from ear to ear. When educators such as Drazen and schools are supported in building inclusive, anti-ableist learning experiences, they create transformative spaces where every student can thrive and extraordinary achievements can become possible. This is where we are committed to continued growth and accountability. As we look ahead, I'll leave you with a quote by Dr. Julie Costin, a leading voice in inclusive education. Inclusion is not a strategy to help people fit into systems and structures which exist in our society. It is about transforming those systems and structures to make it better for everyone. Thank you for your time, your commitment, your honesty, your unwavering dedications to students and families. Your work has made a difference this year and it continues to shape a better future. Wishing you all a joyful and restful summer. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Buddy. May I have a motion that the Special Education Advisory Committee receives the superintendent's report? We have just a second. And does anybody have any questions or discussion? Is everybody? Oh, thank you, Jenna. I keep waiting to show you.
On me. Just want to understand this a little better. So the robotics team did not have any actual, so the robotics team is that the team that competes outside of the school?
So they have a robotic team that competes outside, but what he did was he did a supplementary team where the robotics team met with students who wanted to join robotics in the Vocational One, and they taught them how to code and how to do all of the robotics competitions, and they had an in-school competition. So that was an in-school competition. So the desire of the educator is to expand the program to the other 6 vocational 1 schools or any other students who would be interested in participating and have cross-school competition, but that requires funding that we're willing to support.
Would the next step also be to have some of those vocational students be joining the robotics team and be traveling and part of the actual team as opposed to being a separate started program?
So this was the first at the time that the robotics team did it, but certainly he would be willing to do that because he is the leader of the robotics team. It was his initiative that he talked to us about. And I'm sure that if they had the expertise, they would absolutely be welcomed.
Are there other questions or comments? If there are none, all in favor? Thank you very much. That is passed. And we are already on to 7.2, the special education plan amendments for 2025. Can you introduce the motion first, the presentation? We do this one.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I would like to ask Coordinator Pat Campbell to present tonight's report and just an acknowledgement of the significant amount of work that Pat has done throughout the year to collate all of the feedback, both from SEAC and from community, and track and document all the changes to our special education plan. So what was in the agenda printed today were all of the amendments that had, of course, been previously shared at all of our other meetings when we talked about the special education plan. So Coordinator Campbell.
Thank you, Superintendent Scott. I'm through you, Chair. This year's amendments include updates that are based on feedback that we got from you, the actual other members of the community, staff, and of course, it will also include program changes. The program changes and most of the updates have been previously shared as we review standards each month. And these amendments.
Oh, sorry, next slide.
Sorry, I just realized that I have to.
Oh, you have to, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And these amendments will, once they've been submitted to the ministry, then be incorporated as well into the main plan, and that will be posted on the public website. Next slide, please. The transition to learning hubs and other updates make up the majority of the amendment. Of course, the staffing update is included. We have looked at and expanded the role descriptions, as well as updated them to reflect the way that the department has been reorganized for next year. Now, we're always trying to refine the special education plan. So there were some redundancies that we've removed. So for example, in standard 8, if you compared it with the current plan, it might look like we removed like several pages of text, but what we realized is that all of that text was incorporated into the later part of the same standard. So we just reduced those redundancies. And we also added 2 appendices. One is a working glossary of acronyms, and the other,
You're welcome.
as frequently requested, and the other is the Guide to Special Education for Families. Next slide, please. Standard 13 was significantly revised based on the feedback that you gave to us, and it's been updated to reflect current offerings. Most standards have been included in their entirety because to put the changes in context, and for your benefits, the changes have been highlighted so that you're able to see the context in the background. A few of them we have not included the whole standard because it might just be, updating a few numbers. So if it can be understood without the need for context, and just put in those small pieces. Next slide, please. So the Guide to Special Education is a new resource. It was shared with you, I believe, in March. As I said, it is included as an appendix to the amendment. It will also be posted separately on the special education website. Next one, please. Some guided questions, similar, fairly familiar ones to you at this point. As you review the amendment, it would help us to know if the information is clearly presented, easily understood, language used accessible, and if there is anything else that you think might be helpful, because as always, our goal is not just to meet the minimum requirements, but really to produce a plan that's going to be useful to families, to community, and to staff. Next slide, please. So usual, you're very familiar with this slide, usual methods for submitting feedback, and as always, we're willing to take some notes and as we discuss here. That's it. Short and simple.
Thank you. Right. I was enjoying the cookie. Thank you very much for that. May I have a motion that the Special Education Advisory Committee receives the Special Education Plan Amendment? So very trustee Alice and trustee Angela. And is there any discussion, questions, or comments? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'll be brief tonight, but I haven't actually had a chance to go through this all yet. Just a couple of clarification questions. So this stuff that was in all of the sections that was in the package, that is going to be placed as an amendment. It's not going to be updated in the document itself. Is that correct?
Both. So it will be submitted as an amendment, but and it will also be posted on the website as a separate amendment, so someone can go straight and look at those. But we thought it would be most useful for it also to be incorporated into the plan. So when you click on the main plan, it actually shows up-to-date information.
Oh, good. Okay. That was my concern, that parents were just going to go and read the old stuff and then have to go to the amendment. So it's going to be completely up to date. No, okay.
Yes,
Perfect.
once it's submitted to, yes, once it's been submitted.
To the board of directors and then ministry, yeah.
Right. Okay. I like that you've included some of the previous names of these roles, which we talked about last month, which is great. I think it would be much clearer if they could just be a line item on their own, so people could kind of search through and find what they knew of, because it took me a while actually to notice they were actually there. So it would be really great if it said like the IERT and then maybe just in brackets what it used to be, something. So it's very clear for parents. They know exactly which one they're looking at. That would be, I think, helpful for parents. That's about as far as I've got so far. So I will definitely be clicking on that link and giving my feedback on that. So that's perfect.
Other questions? Can you do Barb and trustee Reggie?
So I wanted to ask about the IPRC numbers and the appeals and the waiting list for assessments. There's nothing about that in here.
Through you, Chair. We're still doing IPRCs, so we'll finalize those numbers and then update the number of appeals that we've had this year as well.
So were the is that information from last year in the plan currently?
I believe, yes, the number of IPRCs initial was in the plan last year, and the number of appeals for last year was in the plan
And it's online. Okay, I'll have a look again because I didn't notice that. And I'm also noticing that under special education placements offered by the board, under secondary, it has the enhanced learning program under indirect support. So I'm asking what happened to the enhanced learning program classes that were at the secondary level.
Through you, Chair, the program hasn't changed, so I'll have to go back and make sure that that ministry class type is appropriate for that, but the the two sites with the enhanced learning programs, the classes are the same as they have been.
Yeah.
So I just make sure that it aligns with the proper ministry class type.
Okay, and a few years ago, I believe, when Superintendent Moynihan was here, there was an approval for ISELF to be also available at the secondary level. And I don't see that here.
Through your chair, we would have to go back and look at that historical data. Superintendent Moynihan hasn't been in the board for several years, but I can talk to any team members who might have knowledge of that and see if that's reflected in any special special education plan.
Okay, thank you.
Please go ahead, Trustee Rachel.
Thank you, and through your chair, it's just that, yeah, then, we make up all these updates and present it. I hope our parents of students with special needs will also be informed about it, where they have to go and access this information and, special information being provided, so they do not feel lost and they feel supported. So just a recommendation.
Yes,
Let's do it for our parents. Thank you.
Yes, through you, Chair. That's a wonderful idea and why we created the parent guide. Which is a truncated, shorter version, which also has links to the more comprehensive special education plan, because it can be overwhelming, the size of the document. And the plan is to, it's in with our digital team right now, kind of getting ready for publishing, but schools can always print it out if they want to. And then we're working with our publishing department as well to make sure it's translated into our 10 most common languages.
Other questions or comments? Jensen?
Then like I said, I went through this very quickly, so just correct me if I'm just pointing to the right area if it's not there, so I know where to find it, or if it is there. We had talked about last month, about the learning hubs, that you're gonna put that chart that you showed up on the board here, that sort of showed the progression and what the difference was between them. Is that in here? Because I didn't see it off the bat.
Through you, Chair. No, we didn't put it in the amendment yet, but that's something we could consider adding as that would be standard 9 as like an appendix to standard 9.
I think it'd be helpful because that cleared up a lot for me, and I think some people around the table as to why, because otherwise it looks very similar. All the classes, it's really hard to tell.
So the progressions, right?
Yeah,
For the hubs, okay.
the title was Skills for Independence Communication. Yeah, all the different, yeah. Perfect, okay. Also, last month, we talked about having and I saw in the document that what the classes were before and what they're called now, which is great. We're also gonna have the numbers for those classes, like what we had this year and what we will have next year. Is that somewhere that I missed? Right here?
No, I just have it handy.
Okay, good.
Wow, look at that.
Okay, maybe you have this too then.
Sorry, okay. Thank you.
That was a good gotcha moment.
We did all our homework.
Yeah, that is.
Thank you
very much.
Great. And I'm not sure if this isn't available yet, but we did talk about with the staff as well, so that we can understand where sort of the cuts were going to be in the staff. We have our numbers here for now, but what we were looking for is what's the equivalent for last year, because we're having a hard time matching up who's who.
Oh, okay, so on the chart, if there's a 0 this year, it means that the role hasn't been continued. And if there is a 0 for this year, it means that we haven't continued. For example, coordinators would be 9 and then 0 this year. And then you would see from last year a 0 where we didn't have roles, and then now there's different roles in place. In this chart here, sorry, in this standard 12 chart.
But when they just, that's got it.
Standard 12 special education. So we had, for example, I think we do a side-by-side comparison. So coordinating principals, 6 this year, 5 next year. But that should be reversed, 5 and 6. But we just and then 1 and 1, 0 and 4, etc.
Okay, no.
Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, no, I think we got it switched on. It's the second thing. I asked for. So
yes, great. Yes.
The first thing I was asking for were the classrooms. So is that also in this document?
So the class locations,
Yes.
Okay, so we are working on that on a map.
Okay.
So that hasn't been published yet because we sent it to, again, our communications department who puts it on a system map with the codes of what hub it is. So that will likely be able to be presented to you in September, because we, put it on like a system map.
Okay, so when we look at, when we're trying to evaluate the special education plan, it's not just the document and how it looks, it's what programs are and what the staffing is and right now and not really understanding what the changes are, well, I can look at it now, but that's hard to do that without the information and we get it in September, it's done, right? You're getting it now, it's done, so I'm not sure how to correct this challenge we seem to have, because in previous years, this information was available earlier. We can say, hey, oh, you got rid of one of the SEA resource teachers. Why? What, and what are we going to do with that? And maybe we have an argument that shouldn't be, or that kind of thing. So when we get it on, June, whatever the date is today, 16th, it's done sort of. So I don't know how next year we can do this a little better so we could actually contribute and be part of it.
Yeah, and through you, Chair, we have had changes up until this week, and we continue to advocate, and we put submissions into the Board of Trustees for business cases to advocate for more staffing. Trustees are always highly supportive of our department, so where we put asterisks on there was where we asked for additional staff. So we offered this to you now, even though our staffing numbers still aren't finalized. So we do the best we can with the information when we have it, but it has been a year where we've continued to make adjustments and modifications. Generally that's done in the staffing process, which I understand happens early on, but that has not been the case this year. It's been different. But heard. Any other questions or comments? Anyone else? Anyone who's online? Oh, Sam. Come on, Nancy. I am. Okay, so we have, sorry.
There's a family.
You haven't, Jennifer's got another one.
Oh, that's true.
Section, I think it's 15, accessibility. We ever gonna see that before? And here.
So through you, that's acknowledged in the motion action log, that the accessibility committee is coming back with a report and getting ready.
So the special education plan will have like what's in there right now, which is very outdated and does not meet standard.
Yes, that is what it is right now. I can't, we have to put in paperwork that it's being collated right now and by another department, as you know. And so all of the departments had to meet to share their goals and all of that's being collated. So she didn't have it ready for this meeting.
Can we have it sent to us when it's ready? Or because right now, from what we see of the plan, that doesn't meet the standard.
Yeah, through you, Chair. The commitment that I received from the department was that it would be ready for September.
So we're comfortable sending in the plan that doesn't meet the requirements of it.
That's the plan we're sending. Yeah. Other questions, comment?
No.
No? You look like you wanted to say something.
No.
Anyone else? Okay, if we are moving on, then we have moved and seconded this. So all in favor of accepting the special education plan amendment 2025? All in favor? In favor of it, accepting it? No. Okay. Yeah. So it's not unanimous.
It wasn't
That's okay.
Wasn't a recorded vote.
Yep. Okay, and does that go to communications? Yep. How do we do? Wow. Okay. I feel like I'm speaking through some, I guess I'm not. So communications for action or receipt. The first is correspondence from the Minister of Education regarding supports for blind and low vision students in Ontario. This one has been addressed that, or is that just within the, I'm sorry, the agenda? For receipt. Right, so it's just for receipt. So people just have to review that on their own. Okay.
Yes, yes. May I have a motion that his special education? Yes. Do you want, we have to receive it first.
We have to receive it.
Yeah, I'll move to receive it.
Okay, awesome. We're moving to receive that report and, so the two trustees again. And now discussion.
You wanna go first, Jed?
Yeah, thanks. Is there a follow-up to the, I want to be careful with the words that I choose, but I don't think that the response answered our questions for additional support for blind low vision students. So is there a follow-up that CNIB and the board is working together?
Through you, Chair, I did talk to our ministry officer about the response and how we will be supported, especially in trying to have O&M support for our board. It's something that she says she'll take back. I will connect with both Suzanne and Chris around if we would like to pen further communication to push further on this. My understanding was the ministry did try to connect with the ministries of universities and colleges to talk about accreditation, because one of the biggest limitations, as you know, is that the O&M specialist is only offered in the BC right now, and some courses at Western as well. So it's very limited in who's offering. So we will continue to advocate for that.
Do you have a follow-up?
No, no, just a comment. It's just disappointing. Like it's, you asked for support and then the response back is we're doing everything that we can, but not really like listing what they're doing to support that community. And so it's helpful that they're reaching out to, you know, different schools and trying to advocate and get, but I mean, it's been 2 years or 3 years of us piping up and voicing and there isn't movement. So what happens when there isn't movement? And we're kind of stuck in the spot of communicating and waiting and communicating and waiting. 6 months goes by. Like, how do we, what's our next steps? Like, as a community, what can we do after that point?
Yes, and I think community advocacy also helps, as you know, which is why we pen together with, you know, our community partners. We had meetings with them, lovely, you know, dedicated people who really want to see improvements. And in fact, they helped us sort of acquire some O&M support. So we are reaching out to community, but would think that your advocacy would matter too.
Through you, Chair. I'm also disappointed with the letter. I think it's laughable. I think that the ministry notes in this letter, quote, "No other government has made the sizable investments we have to support special education in our province, including more than 30% increase in special education funds since 2018. I've never spent more along those and got less." I think it's ridiculous that, you know, this year we passed a balanced budget. We didn't go into our deficit, but had we wanted to, the ministry prevented us from doing so. And because of the lower enrollment, we received a lower allocation. And as anyone who works in special education has become aware, the funds that we need to support students with learning exceptionalities, we need now more than ever. And the need is higher than it has been, and it isn't proportional to our enrollment. So I'm very disappointed to see the minister's response to this letter. And if we have a discussion about penning another letter, I'd like to be involved and find out how I can add my name to the signature. I can't speak for my colleagues, but I'd imagine there might be a couple that would also be interested in giving the minister a response to find out if there's really anything we can do, because the need is there and we have identified a gap in the post-secondary institutions and their ability to support professionals that would be valuable in the space. So very disappointed.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? This is your chance.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Trustee Al's kind of covered almost everything that I, want to say. A lot of it was, I was just as disappointed in the choice of words and the non-answer and the marketing aspect to it, saying how I know being in government is hard. I get that, and I totally appreciate the amount of sleepless nights that even governments I'm not crazy about, put in. But answer the question. Thank you.
Is there a way we can pass our feedback on?
Yeah,
regarding the letter?
I don't know,
We have to
they
write another letter? Oh my gosh, this is gonna make us feel very frustrated. Trustee Alice has taken on the letter writing campaign for that.
Yeah.
We will respond with another letter to the disappointing letter. There has to be some kind of response. Is there?
This was it?
Yeah, it's a non-answer, just saying that we already.
But then are we
do
going to
all this
respond
great
to the
stuff.
response?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Is it-
at this point, that's,
Yeah, we gotta be able to, because, and the term relentless, I think, should be reviewed if you're, because that's a very strong language. So yes, we can, the body will be following up, but we can also discuss a response letter. I know that sounds a bit longer, but we could do that.
We should.
I'm really sorry. That was something bad. Are there any other questions or comments other than disappointing? So all in favor? Are we actually? Yeah, it's just receiving it, like not approving of it.
yeah,
Okay, so we're on to number 9, which is chair's request for written questions from committee members, which we do not have any of. And 10 is reports from representatives on councils or associations. So is there anything anybody wants to share from their organizations? I will share that I'm the executive director of the Learning Disabilities Association of Peel Region. Every summer we hold summer camps for kids who ages 6 to 12 who have learning differences, including ADHD, behavioral issues, ASD1 and 2. And I always mean to share this with the board, and we get to the summer and all of a sudden we haven't. But we do have spaces at our location in Brampton and Mississauga. I can forward those on to you, but yes, like most nonprofits, we're scrambling as usual. But I will be sharing that, and I'd like to collaborate in the future more effectively on that. Is there anything else people are doing for the summer you want to share?
Sorry, just through your chair, if you share that, I again can't speak for my colleagues, but if you include the board of trustees, I'm sure a lot of us would like to socialize whatever we can on, the old fashioned way.
Yeah,
Social media, the internet, happy to post it.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. And we provide no cost summer camp weeks to anyone who has financial.
Send it on top, right? We'll share it throughout our networks.
Oh, thanks.
Send it to Superintendent Scott can send it to the trustee, that everybody gets it, we
And
get.
through you, Chair, we can certainly have my assistant do that.
That's great. Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Okay, there we go.
Just adding on to that, maybe I'll share a link. CNIB does do a summer camp at Lake Joe in Muskoka for low blind vision children. I think it's a subsidized program, but if like the parents or the families aren't able to send their children, and they do provide subsidy, and it's by the lake, and they do canoeing and kayaking and like all sorts of fun activities. But I'll share that link over.
And through you, Chair, our itinerants also share that with their families.
Sure, go ahead.
thank you, through the chair. This is more like a comment on my personal experience. I would recommend to parents everywhere of any child with, with a special need, don't feel like you're imposing yourself or, taking advantage of taxpayer money, because that's what we're paying our taxes for, to help people. I met my wife at an East Seal Society camp on her last year as a camper, and I took a summer job as a counselor. And so I can tell you, lots of amazing things can happen. And seriously, it's a great experience for your kids. And let's be honest, sometimes it's nice to have some time alone with your spouse or your significant other or family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill. Any other shares? Okay, then we'll be moving on to questions asked of and by committee members. I don't believe there's anything that is outstanding. So on to number 12, the committee member motions for consideration. Trustee Al.
Through you, Chair, thank you. So tonight we have a motion that I'm proud to present, but I cannot take credit for this motion. Jesse Gill from Optic, Ontario Parents of Visually Impaired Children is the voice behind this motion, who has done tremendous work to get this across the floor. So I will speak to the motion, but then yield my time to Jesse Gill to speak to it. So I'm going to read it aloud. The motion is a feasibility of reserved pathways for students with learning exceptionalities into regional learning choice programs. Whereas regional learning choice programs, RLCPs, of the Peel District School Board offer specialized academic pathways through an application and/or exam-based process. Whereas anecdotal information indicates that approximately 200 students with learning exceptionalities apply to RLCPs each year, with limited data on how many meet entry thresholds and/or gain admission. Whereas the board currently reserves a percentage of RLCP seats for students who self-identify as African, Black, Afro-Caribbean, First Nations, Inuit, and Métis students through a graded entry program. Be it resolved that staff be directed to prepare a report that includes the number of students with identified exceptionalities who have applied to RLCPs over the past 4 years and/or gained entry into the program, the proportion of those applicants who met eligibility thresholds and/or were offered admission. 3, an analysis of the feasibility and potential impacts, logistical, legal, and equity related, of reserving a percentage of RLCP seats for students with learning exceptionalities who meet admission criteria. 4, a comparison of the current admission structure for equity deserving groups and how a similar model could be reasonably adapted for students with exceptionalities. Recommendations on next steps to ensure equitable access for students with learning exceptionalities to RLCPs aligned with the board's equity and inclusion goals. And for just an amendment to the motion, where we have seen the word learning preceding the word exceptionalities, to just remove learning and just call it exceptionalities. It's a small edit, but one that my colleague Jen Knight brought to my attention. I think is quite important. And with that, I'll turn my time back to you, Chair, for comments on the motion.
In this process, do we want to?
We need a seconder. We need to vote on you second it.
So we need a seconder.
Will you second? Yeah, do you want to second?
Oh, no, I'm good.
No, you didn't second it.
No, I'm second.
Yeah.
So trustee House still said.
Back on the floor.
And then we have just the seconder. So any discussion on the motion that is on the floor?
Okay.
Really? After all that.
Don't jinx it.
Okay, sorry. All right, then all in favor? Go. And what's the process on that now that the motion's been made?
Through the chair, this will now become a recommendation that will be forwarded to our board meeting. And after approval, we'll report back and staff will get started on the report. I didn't hear, because I know staff may be present in the room, I didn't hear timeline mentioned.
Through you, Chair. So my hope is that this will go to the last board meeting of the year. We have a board meeting coming up tomorrow, but it's too late for it to make that agenda. So it'll go to the July 2nd meeting, which is the last meeting of the year, where I anticipate my colleagues will support the motion and it'll pass, touch wood. And after passing, staff will hopefully be able to bring us a report for the first SEAC meeting coming back in September. That leaves us how many months, 3-4 months before we get the report back, but it'll come back in September. At that point, we can then look at the information and decide how we can move forward and hopefully, again, touch wood, action an equitable pathway forward.
Through you, Chair, I'll ask Superintendent Lara Chavarro, who's responsible for the regional learning choice programs, to just determine if that timeline is possible based on the fact that many staff are not here throughout the summer. And the report might not be able to be ready till October. So Superintendent Chavarro.
Thank you, Superintendent Squicado, and through you, Chair. Yes, that is correct. Having a report ready by the first board meeting in September may be not feasible. We will do our best to do it as soon as possible. So I will make a commitment that we will be bringing a report back to a future committee meeting. I just can't commit to the timelines given the data that we have to.
Through you, Chair, I think that sounds reasonable, as long as we can get an update in September, so we know how much is left to find. I think that would be amendable. Jazzy, if that works for you, it works for me. Okay, there we go.
So will this report come back to SEAC first or to the trustees first?
SEAC.
SEAC, okay.
Yeah. Through you, Chair, so it'll come back to SEAC, and then when we, depending on what that information informs us of, if we decide to make a program change, it'll go again back to the board. And then if it passes, it'll become part of our policy, part of our procedure.
Other questions or comments? Okay, then we're moving on to notices of motions and petitions, which I don't believe we have any of. So now we're at our motion action log. Then anything that we need.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Oh, no, I know, but she's usually the one that's
Yes,
the
right.
the junior.
Yes. Thank you, and through you, Chair. From the May meeting, there was a request for an accessibility plan to be revisited at the June meeting. We are currently finalizing the draft of the multi-year action plan document based on the updated operational plans within various departments and feedback received. The revised draft will be shared in the fall with SEAC as committed to, and the accessibility policy is also currently under review and will be brought back to SEAC. Just to update the SEAC committee that when we do not meet a standard on the special education plans, we do have to submit a variance report that indicates with the amendment that outlines that we have not met that standard, but intend to do so with a timeline. So we do take accountability that the accessibility standard 15 is not up to date and then to put in as a variance report. The BLV standard, Jazzy Gill requested the inclusion of additional placement considerations, and that was being brought forward as a motion, as you heard today. So we will mark that as resolved and await the report from the curriculum department. The standard 3 review staff changes. There was a request for an additional explanation of role changes, including previous and revised roles, and that was provided as a handout today. So we've met that motion action log. Again, since the response for the RCLP Learning Choice Program, there was a notice of motion that was brought today. So we will take that item off the motion action log and replace it as a formal motion. And as shared, Superintendent Trevorrow and her team will make sure that we respond back in the fall. The April one is completed. That is the same motion as prior to before. And the census report, we're just going to leave that one on the log until the research department brings back the data in the 2026 school year. So we want to make sure we keep track of that. So this will be one that returns in the fall along with the accessibility committee one. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Let's start with the accessibility plan. We currently are working with, I think, 2022 plan. Is that correct? The accessibility plan, not the, there's the accessibility plan and then there's the accessibility portion of the.
Yes, the plans, I don't recall the date, I have to check that for you.
Okay, because it was due in December of 2025, which did it get submitted? Because this was originally the accessibility plan itself, not part of the special education plan. This
correct
item, this.
Yes, it's a separate document.
So the accessibility plan was not updated in time for December 2025, correct?
Through you, Chair, I'll have to find out that, but I assume that it's not been brought back to us, so, but I will find that out for you.
I just like there'd be some importance put on accessibility in the field board. This is, like I say, 2022. We've been told that this is coming for years. There's been no updates. There's not, I mean, we can update the special education plan. We can meet the deadlines that are set out by the ministry and by the ADA. I'm not sure what we have to do to make this an important part of what we're doing here. To me, it's kind of what we're doing here, right? We need to understand what we're working towards when it comes to accessibility. And it's not just about physical accessibility, right? It's about everyone around the table. It's accessibility for everyone. So really, really disappointed that this is still sitting here after years and that we're not included on any updates or anything that's happening. And if we are, we get a report here that says, we'll get to you next month kind of thing. So just want to express my disappointment in the focus that's being put on accessibility. Second one is, the data that you gave us today, since we haven't really had a chance to look at it and we're not going to talk to you until probably September, I'd like to walk through it and understand some of these cuts. I see that, numbers been updated for the EA cut. Now 235 last month. We thought it was 400, so that's good. It's come down. Can we talk about that a bit? I know that right now we have a shortage of EAs, we have a shortage of backups, like what, we're gonna lose 225. I don't see a star here that says we've got a.
Yes, through you,
Something
Chair,
for
there
it.
should have been a star there. I'm not sure that was requested. We did make a large request to the Board of Trustees for additional EAs, and the final confirmation of that will happen on the July 2nd board meeting.
It's a large number, which.
So we asked for 100 additional.
100, that's just still
Yes.
down 135
Yes.
this year. And this number here, 2485.5, is that the number after we got the additions in the fall, VAs? Or there wasn't some additions?
Yes,
in there?
those are including the most recent numbers. Those are after all the additionals. Recalling that as EAs come into need, it's a cyclical process. So throughout the year, my team will go to the director's office and share our updated SIF data. And allocations will be added as needed throughout the year. So we've always had a highly supportive director's office who takes our student independence, I won't use acronym, student independence form data. We make a presentation and then additional allocations are given as needed for the students that we're serving. So it's not a one-time process like it is with educator staff after the organization. It's very cyclical.
So we can ask for more funding throughout the year, as you're saying.
Yes, I have. I think gone. I think I have gone 3 or 4 times this year to ask for additional EAs, and each time I've been granted additional EAs based on the data.
Through you, Chair, just wanted to add comment to that. So we set a budget and we, hear business cases from all staff and a perfect goal to accept everything that everyone has. I know when it comes to spec ed, I think we accepted almost everything that was requested of us, including a large, one of the largest, if not the largest, staffing resource ask was for spec ed support, and we granted it.
This year, last year.
This just now, we did this now. And I know when we were talking with COO Jasper Gill about how these requests come through, we know we could get them again later in the year, where some funding might open up again, like we did last year. I don't remember the number, but I know it was over 100 that we got again mid-year or close to the end of the year. But we certainly do our best to offer the supports that we can. And I asked the question of our COO, this budget committee, if we could dip into our reserves to cover the gap that the ministry left us, and the ministry said no. And we have some reserves to spend, but the ministry, the minister out of a point of whatever point he's trying to make, said, nope, you got to balance on what we give you. And even if you have extra, you've dipped into it 2 years in a row, you're not dipping it there.
Okay, guys.
Bad people.
Sorry, I'm confused. So the projects have been put in and they've been approved.
Some have been,
So through you, Chair, we don't get formal approval until after it's been voted on by the Board of Trustees, and then they notify us after. So those requests that we have made have not been formally approved by the entire Board of Trustees until made official at the board meeting. It's made official at the board meeting.
Okay. So is there any reason that, and maybe I missed it, but that those requests aren't shared with SEAC? What it is you're asking for, that kind of thing? Because they used to be.
So through you, Chair, that was done through the feedback form that we tried to share with SEAC around the budget allocations and what were budget priorities. We did not hear back from SEAC, and there was feedback, if you recall, last meeting around the format that it was given in. So we were taking it from that.
Yeah, that's not, my question was, you guys submitted requests for extra budget money for certain things here that are started, but I don't see any stars, but why were those projects or those requests not shared to SEAC?
So through you, Chair, that's why we collected the budget feedback. We were gonna base it off of that, so there wasn't any feedback shared, so we went off of what has been shared throughout the time at SEAC, so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the special education department requested funding, right, for
years,
special
yes.
projects.
Not projects, mostly staffing.
Mostly staff, okay, staff.
Yeah, mostly
Sometimes
staffing.
projects, sometimes
Yeah,
it's
no,
staffing.
it's all staffing.
Okay, so you're telling me that we didn't give you data, or we didn't give you information to make those decisions, but those decisions were made.
You do
To
get
make
me
those-
data every meeting when you share feedback with us. It doesn't have to be formalized data. You often share feedback around the need for additional EAs. That's been something that we've heard at SEAC multiple times, which is why that was our number one request on the table. There was feedback shared at SEAC around the need for more support of our PSSP staff through social work and psychology to not have wait lists. Those were requests that we made. So it doesn't have to be a formalized process. We take feedback every single SEAC and listen to it and also consider other conversations with staff or community. We take feedback from our principals and our teachers about what is needed. SEAC is one form of communication and feedback that we take when we're thinking about system need, but we also serve schools, and we serve principals, and we serve teachers. So we also consider their feedback when we're looking at our business cases and what we're asking for. So it's really a balanced approach to, it's not honoring one voice more than another. We have to honor everybody that we serve.
Maybe I'll ask you differently. What were the requests?
So we asked for educational assistance. We asked for additional support in psychology, social work, and a communicative disorder assistant, which is under the speech and language pathology. And we asked for additional IERTs.
So
all staff.
Okay, thank you for that. It's helpful to understand, because then that leads into what's here. The challenge is that we're asking for this data after the fact. Like this is stuff I thought you would share with us so we would understand sort of what's going on. That's what's happened in the past. It's like, what are we asking for? And then we can kind of go, because we don't know. When you say to us, what should we be asking for? We don't know what the money's spent on, right? We don't know until today that there are less EAs than there were.
Yeah, so we've done two pretty comprehensive financial reports this year. So you might, when you say you don't know what money spent on it, we had a very comprehensive report by our controller around how special education funding to the very dollar.
No, I can read a budget. I looked at it last year.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that where is the, like, what do we have to spend money on? What do we not? What do we need? What we don't need? When you say to us, what should special education spend money on? It's hard for us to contribute. But if you said, hey, we're looking at getting more ERTs, we're looking at more EAs or college, we can have a conversation. And that's it. That's all I'm saying. And if we had information like this, like that you're going to take away this, but we're putting in this, which still is not complete there. Anyway, maybe next year we can do better. Thanks.
Are there other questions or feedback? Okay, and I would follow up with you after the prep as well. So that would move us to adjournment at just after 8, which is very unusual for us. So have we covered everything that? Oh, you're
Sorry.
he's moving for adjournment. Just like, so, trustee Albert, I'm never gonna get over the council. Trustee Albert is moving for adjournment, seconder. Trustee George,
Lieutenant
all in
Commander.
favor? All right, thank you very much. Everybody have a great summer, and we'll see you in the fall.